How cool is the coolest discovery in the 21st century? Ice cold. Today we're talking about the biggest discoveries in technologies in the last 18 years. Joining us this week is Neil deGrasse Tyson. Welcome to another episode of the Bermuda Triangle Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Bermuda Triangle Podcast, where interesting topics get lost in good conversation. I'm your host, Alex, and the posse, starting with Adam.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Travis.
What's up?
And Carl.
Hola.
Guys, we are live.
Legit live. Like, it sounds
Legit.
good. Hopefully it looks good.
Yeah?
Oh, we all look good, Adam.
I mean,
We
I know.
all look
Yeah.
good.
I mean, this jersey
That
kind of makes
jersey's
it look
beautiful.
pretty good.
Yeah, that is no lie. The jersey does help. The face does not, though. It's not selling.
Throwing shade.
But the beard, though.
It does. I'm lacking there.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute, like since the last episode.
I know, it's been a while.
Well, I mean, you took a serious nap.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of did a cram of episodes.
A 2-for-1 special.
Yeah, so y'all are actually getting to see this episode.
Before the previous episode, we'll actually, we're
going-
going to go a little out of order.
If
going
you're on our
back to the
YouTube,
future.
this is just our first experiment.
Yeah,
and
we're
we wanted
testing it out.
let you guys participate in our exploration.
The audio format will be in like 2 weeks?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, let's talk about what we talked about on our
Previous episode.
previous episode.
That has not aired yet.
Yeah, this is strange.
My mind is hurting.
Hey, we're just trying it out. It's all good.
It's like podcast inception.
Yes.
Podception.
The
Podception. So we talked about the American gun problem on our last episode. With the recent horrific shooting in Florida, the issue has been on the 24-hour news cycle, and you cannot turn on TV without seeing something about this, right?
Yeah, it's all over.
So we covered the events that happened, the current background check processes and what that looks like, and our ideas on how we can maybe fix that. Some of the failures the media, or what we think the failures of the media have been. The Second Amendment and why we have that amendment to begin with, and what we think could be possible fixes to our current system to maybe make our schools a little safer.
Yeah.
And guys, if you did not check that episode out,
You can't yet.
Well, you
but
can't yet
you will
if you're
soon.
watching it now. But get ready because it will be on Apple Podcasts and all your favorite podcast apps. Or if you're listening to this episode on the audio file, you can find that one episode down.
Just hit the back button. Just hit the back button.
Yeah, just hit the back button. And don't forget to get involved with us online and social media. And now welcome you to these live streams that we will likely be doing on Monday nights going forward.
Yes. We know they're a little rough now. It took us quite some time to figure all this out, get the audio nice and good and tasty. But we're going to be adding more to it. The value of it's going to go up as we learn it. So don't shy away if this one's, not as great as some of the other ones that you've seen as far as, how it looks and whatnot. Just give us some time. Let us figure it out because we are slowly trying to learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if anyone couldn't tell by the intro there, we're going to talk about the top 10 discoveries or biggest discoveries or technologies or just kind of the coolest things from the 21st century so far. I'm actually pretty excited about this because some of these, I know, but I often, forget in my, daily life. And I think it's really cool to just kind of go back and kind of look at some of these things and be like, yeah, we did that.
Yeah. Humans.
Human.
Awesome.
No, Hugh persons?
Oh,
persons.
people
Yes.
kind.
People kind.
Yes.
People kind.
As Justin Trudeau
Can't call it
so
mankind. it's
succinctly
people kind.
put. Yes, you
God
can't say
forbid.
man.
Get your snuggies out.
So I guess I'll go ahead and start with one that I actually recently heard about. It's a material called graphene. And what graphene is, it's a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in sort of a hexagonal shape from one another. Cool things about it, it's actually so thin that it's actually considered two-dimensional, not even three-dimensional.
Whoa.
What?
Interesting.
Yeah. It's
That messes with my mind.
yes.
Can
was
float too.
It does float, yeah. So there's a cool little video, which we can probably link in the description, of a lady basically pulling sort of graphene
Like
strings.
yarn almost.
Yeah,
like
little
yarn.
strings apart from one another. And when you pull it down to one sort of fiber or one string of the graphene, it's lighter than air, so it actually floats. It's kind of
Holy
really
crap.
trippy to look at.
That's crazy.
Because you like when you look at it, you're like, oh, this is like what I see in space, but no, this is happening on planet Earth. So
With the man people, or no, I'm sorry, the people kind.
the people kind. So cool things about like what graphene can be used for and why it's sort of important. It has very, very good conductive properties. So I know I watched a video talking about like graphene being used in battery electronics. So it can actually move electronics through graphene 200 times faster than silicone. So this also could replace silicone-based chips. Like this could
That's
be the next
huge.
microchip.
Yeah.
And you're just talking about computing power and computing sort of speeds, lightning quick compared to anything that silicone could do.
Well, you know what gets me excited about that is think of how fast we've advanced just silicon technology in the last decade.
And they've also been talking about how is it Moore's law?
Yeah,
Moore's law, where like computing power will
Rapidly.
double every year.
Oh yeah, it's
Well,
exponential.
like they've kind of been recently talking about how Moore's law may be dying, but I don't know. Bring in graphene, it might pick back up.
Yeah, I find that we're always going to have something that's going to... There's like these swells where there's like a rapid advance in some underlining technology, such as this, that then pushes the industry for another decade or so of advancements.
Well, I'm reading this right now. It's saying that it's uncoated graphene has been shown to serve as a neuro interface electrode without altering or damaging the properties of signal strength. So that what that could mean is that it could be used for cybernetics, possibly.
Huh.
Yeah, because the signal strength between, I guess, the electrodes is so precise and so perfect, and there's no degradation.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess, the body doesn't resist it.
Oh, that's really neat.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Along with its conductive properties, it's also strong as shit.
Like the strongest thing ever, right?
Yes, I believe it's the strongest material currently known. But it would take an elephant, like so let's take one of those floating in the air graphene sort of strings or tubes. Take one single tube, and if you could somehow get an elephant to balance on it, it still wouldn't break that tube.
Wow.
And we're also talking about a two-dimensional tube. It's so thin, it's two-dimensional, and an elephant.
I mean,
won't
this
even
sounds
break
like
it.
some Spider-Man stuff. Like if you had like graphene
Yeah,
Spider-Man
basically, yeah.
launcher things, like you're good to go.
Yeah.
Wow.
And as also noted, it's super flexible. It can be twisted, pulled, curved to any extent without breaking. So it's a very flexible material. It's also pretty transparent. It absorbs 2.3% of visible light that hits it. So which means you can see through it without having to deal with any glare. So, glaring computer screens and phone screens, not a problem anymore. There's no glare.
And they're indestructible.
And it's a lot stronger than, glass and stuff like that. Yeah. Now, I don't know if it's like completely like see-through in the sense that you can actually use it as a mobile screen or something like that, but I don't know, maybe. But yeah, graphene's a really, really cool technology. As far as it being used as like batteries, let's see. Oh no, it is transparent screen, so you can use it in like plasma TVs and phones. So that could be the future indestructible phone screen. That would put some manufacturers that would hit them in their pocketbooks, as people don't crack their screens anymore.
I saw something about like magnetism too.
I didn't read anything. What's magnetism?
Oh, just that it can be levitated by neodymium magnets.
What are those?
Yeah. Great. That's a great question, Carl.
What are
Yeah.
those?
I mean, just like basic magnets is, I think, like it's a really strong magnet, but it could be used for, applications of like moving large materials depending on how you have it set up. I mean, like a kind of like a magnet train.
Interesting. I was just reading one on. So apparently, graphene is toxic in a sense. It's kind of like the whole thing I was saying about cybernetics might possibly be debatable, but the actual they can make nanoplatelets of this fiber or this carbon or nanoribbons even, and they're talking about using it in low doses for biomedical applications for like bone marrow stem cell growth.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's like, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like just a carbon. Carbon. We are carbon-based forms.
Yeah, it's one of the most common atoms in the universe.
But to get to a level of that, complexity, it's a really simplistic complexity.
It's also actually pretty like super common. I mean, obviously we just talked about how like common carbon is, but you've actually dealt with graphene before. Let's see, where was it? Yeah. So if you've ever written with a pencil, small bits of that is graphene. The graphene will flake off, and you have actually used and dealt with graphene before. But before we just had no idea to how to manipulate it and sort of
string it along.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
This came from a university originally, right? That discovered this separation?
It was first studied in the 1940s.
It was observed in 1962 as a single layer carbon foil.
Yes, and in 2002, the University of Manchester researcher Andre, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, Geim, became interested in graphene and challenged a PhD student to polish a hunk of graphite to as few layers as possible. He was able to reach 1,000 layers, but could not hit the goal of 10 to 100 layers. Thick rather.
Jesus.
So it looks like they refined their technique to produce a single layer, and they published that in 2004.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty recent. And as the years have gone on, we've just sort of realized or sort of discovered, if you will, more and more uses or potential uses of graphene. So yeah, I think it's a really game-changing material.
Sounds huge.
Yeah. So yeah.
So on that microcosm level, we can move to our next one, which is CRISPR.
Yes,
it's microscopic.
CRISPR is super freaking cool. So basically, I'm not going to give the full sort of definition.
Well, CRISPR, is that an acronym?
It is an acronym, and I'm not going to be able to break it down because it's kind of really scientific-y.
We've talked about this before on the previous.
Yeah, okay, so it stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously we know what that means.
Right, exactly.
No, but essentially CRISPR is sort of so we know that DNA contains little sequences of DNA, they are what produce everything of life as we know it. And so what CRISPR does is it's sort of like gene editing, if you will, but it's a particular method of gene editing. And I know they've done testing and sort of they've tried to engineer mosquitoes so they don't carry like malaria and stuff like that.
So they're trying to collage different DNA strands together.
I believe I also was reading this is I'm sorry. I was thinking of the manipulation of the H5N1 virus. I thought that was CRISPR. I apologize. Got excited.
Well,
I mean, it can be sometimes confused with things like stem cell research.
Yeah.
Where they're able to, go in there and manipulate a stem cell. But this goes even deeper than that because it's manipulating the DNA.
Yeah, and what's also cool about CRISPR is it can be directed to cut any region of the DNA. So there's really like no limitations on what you can slice up. And let's see, where's that part in that article? Sorry, I had this pulled up of like some of the cool stuff that they've done with CRISPR. It's been applied in food and agricultural industries. Make better food. It's been used in yogurt, for example.
We're on like the cutting room floor when it comes to CRISPR. Like,
its
potential is not even been realized yet.
Yes, it's a very new technology, and it's just sort of coming around, and they're kind of testing it in very small batches of, what are the possibilities of CRISPR.
Well, what gets me excited about is we have a lot of intersecting technologies of the future, and one of which, right, is space travel, and I'm sure we'll get to some of those things there, but CRISPR, I think, will play a big role in helping make humans survive elements that we've never been able to survive before. And now there's lots of ethical questions.
We've talked about this.
Oh,
yeah. We talked about this in the space episode.
Absolutely. And,
there were two things that I found them. that they were used, and that's pretty big. In 2003, the first reports of using CRISPR to edit human cells in an experimental setting. It was published by the Broad Institute of Massachusetts, or the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard. But they used vitro cells or DNA of animals, they used it in animals to treat human diseases. And they determined that it could be effective in correcting genetic defects. And they used it to correct cystic fibrosis, cataracts, and Fanconi anemia.
Wow.
So, I mean, the research is going on, and it's proving to be sort of possibly the industry leader of future genetic altering.
That's exciting to me and terrifying all at once. And I don't know which one should be more powerful in my emotional balance, but
of course, like people jump to like, oh, designer genes and stuff like that.
Designer babies even.
Yeah, designer babies.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we could eliminate, like, think of like some terrible diseases that we could eliminate and eliminate that suffering from the world, I'm all for that for sure.
That brings up a very good point, because like there was a patient. So there's another technology that's the cousin of CRISPR. It's called ZFN, which is zinc finger nucleases. I'm not going to go dive into all that because it was
finger.
Yeah, I was reading what that was all about, and I was just like, what is going on here?
It gets super complicated super quickly.
But pretty much what had happened is, so this guy had, or this patient had Hunter syndrome, which is it breaks down your carbohydrates in your body so that it can leave permanent damage to your brain. It can affect your organs. It can affect your physical abilities. And so what they did is they edited his genome for that and got rid of that syndrome in a live patient.
Oh, wow.
And this was back in 2000 and I want to say, what was the date on that one? I wouldn't say 2016 to be safe. Yes, 2016. So I'm like, what? This blew my mind. Like, we're getting to the point where we can precisely get into our bodies and get down to the fundamental basics of what we are and change it.
Yeah. We're basically, some people could argue, becoming God.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is
that's
where the
ethical
ethics
problems
fall in.
I mean,
and
what?
So like simple scenarios, like for me, for example, I'm born dyslexic, right? And if we could just go to a lab and all of a sudden we could,
get rid of that.
I think one
correct the way my brain fires.
I think one huge
It'd be insane
ethical quandary that will come up when we advance with CRISPR is people have brought up the notion that you could change your gender entirely with CRISPR.
Becoming androgynous, get rid of gender completely.
And whether or not these effects, what happens, like if these effects can become temporary. If you're just like, yeah, today I feel like being a girl.
Today's a girl day. Today's a boy day.
Tomorrow I
and all of a sudden you just like get this shot and your just dick shrivels up and like turns into this beautiful vagina.
I don't think that it would work that way.
I don't think it would work exactly like that. Just like a shot and boom, it would happen
No, of
like
course
that.
not.
But
It
like,
take time. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think the bigger.
I mean, these are all theorized, obviously.
Yeah.
I think the bigger question is, or the bigger ethical issue is creating different classes of human beings and what defines a human being.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Like, will the rich people be able to cure the diseases while the poor people
Immortality,
are suffering?
even.
Or even more, yeah, exactly. Very, very good
Well,
question.
like, no, intellectually wise, will there be subclasses of intellectually differential people?
Well, I'm thinking money, because that's what's probably going to drive a lot
I'm thinking
of
species, too. Like,
Yeah.
what if people, like, one people are like, yeah, I want to morph my body this way, and then another people are like, I want to morph my body that way, and you just 100 years from now have two almost completely different species of
You have
humans.
extra DNA.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because like we would then control evolution, and evolution wouldn't take thousands and thousands of years to go by.
Yeah.
Like we could see some animal in nature and be like, well, this trait that it currently has is, not working out for it, or maybe animals that may be going extinct or soon to be extinct. We could CRISPR
Preserve
them and
yeah.
preserve them.
I mean, I thought I heard they were
Is
talking
that
about
preservation though?
Yeah, that could be. Well, I mean, that
Depending on how
that
you
would
look at
depend
it.
on how you look at it. But then you could also take. I mean, if you can edit genes, could you then maybe bring back to life an extinct animal if you could somehow get its DNA?
Well, that's what I was about to say. Was
Jurassic
about the woolly
Park.
like they've been talking about bringing back a woolly mammoth.
Yeah, they have.
They have the DNA. That it's all preserved really well. Fortunately,
and ice, right?
and
But
it's the possibilities there.
I've-
I mean, they've already done.
I've read those articles
goats.
before. They have to use like currently existing
Elephants.
to like slowly
okay.
breed them in. It's not just
Yeah.
like
Boom.
Well, I
mammoth.
mean,
Yeah.
but still,
speaking
that
on that-
still could be very possible.
Oh,
Speaking
yeah,
on that, there was a
absolutely.
goat that was just born in an artificial womb
That
recently.
is true. Yeah.
Like what?
It's
some
getting
crazy shit.
man. It's getting crazy. But
They're talking about kids now. Like they're talking about
Speaking of
children outside the womb.
artificial life, this isn't on the list, but I mean, I saw that, came across this while I was doing my research, and we have created artificial life. Like they've taken and created mitochondrial, cells, and taken that and put it into another, bacteria cell, and they basically created artificial bacteria, like life, though,
Wow.
literally from nothing.
you know what that
Wow.
kind of
Yeah.
also worries me, like, because I know we're going to talk about space here soon, of like contaminating, like other, like as we we make these discoveries and as we proceed with these types of technologies. I mean, we're also gaining ground in other sort of technologies, space travel and stuff like that. I mean, contaminating to something that we don't know what could do and how to control. Like, I don't know. It gets.
But that's the beauty of
Oh, yeah.
the human existence.
That is the beauty of potential discovery.
Yeah, it's the unknown.
Exactly.
I think I am more afraid of a genetically modified human race, in a sense, than I am of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Why so?
I agree with that.
It's
There's not an off button for those people.
yeah, like
But
you
they're
can't-
people, right?
Yeah, but
they?
Are they? What defines
at what point?
What defines
and
a
I mean,
person now?
We're talking sci-fi right now, but if that technology evolves at that with the Moore's law, advancements of it in 100 years from now, what is possible? I can only imagine, and it's terrifying in a sense, right?
That would be scary. I mean,
It's like I just think of like Crocodile from Spider-Man or something,
well,
like
it's interesting that you. Oh, sorry.
no, I was going to use this as a segue, but
I was just going to say it's interesting that you mentioned the Moore's law when we talk about stuff that doesn't have to do with computers, because
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is, I mean, technology and these types of discoveries are being married together. So like the behaviors of, computing is going along the same sort of growth, or it's being tied to other things. So will those other things then sort of reflect
Help.
Moore's law?
oh yeah.
Like,
I
could
know exactly what
CRISPR
you're
sort of be attached to the same sort of, I
Advanced
guess, upper
trajectory.
trajectory to where
Yeah.
it's like CRISPR every year gets twice as good?
That'd be crazy.
ooh,
So, I mean, speaking of AI, though, another part of the list is the invention of IBM Watson.
yeah,
You know what's really cool about Watson?
kick some ass in Jeopardy.
Well,
Yes.
I just realized this the other day, and I'll do a selfless plug here. The Weather Channel app is powered by Watson.
A lot of things are being powered by Watson, or like the
AI
infrastructure,
behind
the
it.
AI behind Watson. I mean, you joke about the Jeopardy thing, but that's actually what sparked the creation of Watson. Is
Yeah.
they, back in the 90s, IBM created Deep Blue, which beat a master chess player, and they were like, "Oh wow, we're pretty awesome.
We might be onto something
Yeah.
We
here.
might be onto something." And so they slowly over time picked up on Jeopardy, and they're like, "Oh, what if we made a robot that was really good at Jeopardy?" And that's basically what led to Watson and the creation of it. And it was kind of a display for them to show off like how good IBM is at doing and creating these systems. But now they've turned it to so many different applications. Like one huge application is identifying different cancer sequences. I forgot the wording of it, but basically trying to find these different combinations of chemicals to treat, cancer more accurately than just trying to throw radiation at it. They can.
Yeah, it's oh crap, I know exactly what you were.
Oh, to clarify,
to-
the one that beat the chess master, his name is Deep
Targeted
Thought.
cancer.
Deep thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Targeted
Just-
cancer therapies.
Targeted cancer therapies. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're using IBM Watson to analyze patients so much faster than a human can, because it is
Yeah.
it is a computer.
Well, yeah, I was reading something, like you could pull an X-ray or an MRI, and Watson can analyze it, in a fractions of seconds. And,
What?
But I think one of
and
the
tell you exactly what's wrong.
one of the most tremendous things about it, though, is that they didn't like program it into Watson. Essentially, they had to teach Watson this.
Like a child?
Kind of, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like they essentially, like everything Watson knows was taught to it. And so it had to learn to learn.
Wait, so since they, I guess, taught it to learn, does it now therefore learn on its own? Or like, do they have to continually teach it?
I believe it now learns on its own
You would
because
think
I
it
mean,
would.
there's different, aspects of it. Like you said, it's powering the weather app and whatnot, but they teach it basically how to think like a human.
Okay.
Like, essentially.
So then, okay.
Like how to analyze like a human.
Now, what do you think is the future of Watson?
Well, that'd be he's all
Mr. AI over here, as we mentioned in our last episode. It's not out yet.
I think it could be good. I think IBM. I think Watson is like the first generation of like a whole new segment of products, of like artificial intelligent products.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the future, like you're already starting to see it with like Siri, Google Home, Alexa. Like I think you're gonna, in 5-10 years from now, you're gonna have a personal assistant that can literally do whatever you want it to do outside of like physical tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Huh.
I
Well,
wanted to do
so
some physical tasks.
So I've kind of found a cool little graph here. So there's, I guess, 3 main levels of, I guess, artificial intelligence. But even that's one of the names of the category. So I
Is
guess
it kindergarten, middle school, and high school level?
Correct.
I would think
No.
it'd have to be based
So-
on like the Turing test.
So you
or
have
something.
like general artificial intelligence, which would be an example of like video game AI, IBM Deep Blue, Pandora Radio, general artificial intelligence. Then you have machine learning, which would be Facebook News Feed, IBM Watson, Spotify Discover Weekly, Netflix recommendations engine. So that'd be like machine
Guessing,
learning.
like fully autonomous.
Well, it's more or less
On
like
the next, not. On the next test.
Oh, no, the next one is deep learning. So deep learning is like it learns itself. So like machine learning is like it
You give
picks
it-
up your habits, like,
Yeah.
oh, you liked things like this, you might things, and it finds similar things and stuff like that.
Kind of like if this, do this.
Yeah, so deep learning, some examples of that. Have you guys heard of Alphago?
Mm-mm.
So Alphago is a deep mind by Google, and they taught it to they taught it chess. It learned a game called Go,
Yes,
and
it's
then
big.
it beat the world's best Go player.
So
All by like, it learned it.
So Go, just to be clear, Go is more complicated than chess.
It's the hardest game in the world.
Yeah,
Um,
it's multifaceted.
Is it
Facebook.
anything like Monopoly?
No,
It's like crazy.
Other
complicated.
other examples of some deep learning: Google Photos, Gmail Smart Reply, Tesla Autopilot, Facebook photo tagging. Those are some examples of some deep learning.
wow.
So deep learning uses brain-inspired algorithms or neural networks to stimulate the learning process. So that would be kind of a definition of that.
CIA
but yeah.
everywhere.
So Watson is in the
He's
category
the
of
second
machine
category.
learning,
Yeah.
meaning it can basically learn, I guess, connections or similarities.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see. I'm predicting in the next 5 years, there's going to be a significant advancement in our day-to-day interaction with artificial intelligence. Like just in 5 years. I mean, if you think about it now, the 3 major tech companies selling these home personal assistants and stuff now, and they're very
Ooh.
basic. They're not like
Oh, go ahead.
I've read that AI is kind of being likened to the internet in that kids nowadays, they grew up with the internet and it was just like another part of life, and that's how young kids nowadays will be. They'll just be used to AIs and interacting with AIs, and it'll just be like a normal part of life to them.
oh yeah, yeah.
So I found something really cool, and please bear with me because it's a little lengthy, but this is exactly how Watson works.
Yes,
And like how it
please.
makes a decision.
Drop it on me.
So step 1, the natural language processing engine, or question and topic analysis. It tries to understand a question by parsing it into words, mapping the relationship between the words, and isolating the subject of the question. The parsing system is a slot grammar, one of the few rule-based algorithms Watson used. So essentially, you give it a question, it tries to figure out what is that question by association of the words and trying to figure out the meaning of the question. After Watson interprets the question, it searches its myriad of sources for answers, much like Google's conventional search engine does. Watson can sift through unstructured data, such as Wikipedia, newswires, as well as structured databases and data. After it generates potential answers, Watson gathers additional evidence. This secondary search searches new information that elevates strong answers and eliminates weak ones. Watson then computes a confidence score for each answer based on the supporting evidence. And then finally, IBM Watson selects the answer with the highest confidence score and is correct 71% of the time.
And it does all of that in like
seconds.
Like
That's incredible.
half a second.
I want to add to that incredibleness. I'm reading this article right now. Watson created music. Watson has created he did a collaboration to make a 4-song EP with a Grammy producer.
Dude, that's really cool.
So the way I'm quickly gliding over how he did this, but I mean he's analyzing.
There you go, Travis. Watch out. Your job's on the line.
He's analyzing
distresses
tones like from different, I guess through the internet, through different databases on audio recordings, tones like voice for emotion. He's looking at the physical album covers of like centuries of music or the last century's music. What else is he learning? He's deconstructing songs based on pitch, the velocity of the pitches and of the sounds.
Is his music on iTunes? Because I kind of want to check it out.
Okay, it's called Not Easy. This is from 2016, so I don't know. I'll have to look into it a little bit more. But this song is called Not Easy, and it's a 4-track EP. So I'll have to look up the actual name of it all and let y'all know. But this is crazy. This blows my mind. Like,
yeah, that's actually really cool. I would never have
That is
guessed that
crazy.
you got
it's
Watson to write some music.
It's deconstructing century, like
but
a whole library of music.
Yeah,
Probably instantly.
What I think's really cool is it's science making art.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily great because it lacks that one thing. It's the emotion.
Yeah, it's
feed.
the human. I don't know. I've never listened to the song.
Well, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about artwork, but
Yeah. There's some other really interesting technology that's come out in the last decade or more.
What's that, Alex?
Smartphones.
Smartphones. Hey,
What are those?
Guys, do you remember what life was like before your smartphone?
yes,
Yes.
Simpler.
Simpler.
yes.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think about like how did I get around without it?
You know what's really?
And it's kind of scary to think about. And like I know how people react when they don't have a phone nowadays.
Anxiety.
And imagine someone going without their asking someone to go without their phone for 24 hours.
I do it all the time, and
When
people freak out. Like,
yeah, well,
okay,
you are
like
a rare case.
I tell people like they'll have to go without their phone for like 2 hours or something like that.
God.
They're like,
The end of the
what am I
goddamn
gonna do for
world.
2 hours? I'm like, I don't know. Unplug, enjoy it. Have the excuse to not be plugged in. Like, go walk, go do something, go talk to somebody.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
the reason
be a
why
human.
the reason why you say, "Oh, I don't know how I'd get around," is because you weren't an adult when these things weren't available, so you don't really know
But dude,
how to get
even
around. You didn't have a car or anything.
But even adults have been forced into it due to business purposes and
Oh,
so
yeah.
many things. Like you cannot avoid unless you were
can.
like retired and you are elderly and you have no
Read a map.
other reason. There is very little chance that you can avoid a smartphone nowadays.
Being real on that, if somebody asked me to read a map and
I'm gonna
like
tell 'em
was
to
like,
fuck
"Hey,
themselves.
give me from A to B with this," I'd be like, "You are crazy."
I'd be like, give me a compass, a protractor, and I got you.
Oh God.
Well, I mean, you just follow the highways and the roads on there.
I mean, I know how to read a map, but I think what you brought up was a good point. You know, like for us, the smartphone came out the iPhone came out when I was in my senior year of high school.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
for somebody that literally has grown up their entire life around these devices,
Well,
they're forming
here's an interesting
symbiotic
thing.
relationships with them.
There's a
You can't
study.
live without it.
There's a study done on like how we learn, and since the smartphone has come out, and how it learns, and I find this interesting. It's just a quick statement of like the general learning, not the study exactly, but the constant connection to the internet via smartphones and laptops has changed established rhythms of human thinking. There used to be times when we were socializing and learning from the people and the world around us, and times when we were alone with our thoughts. And so you were able to then analyze your thoughts, and you were able to reflect on your thoughts, introspective thought. These types of thinking, they're saying, are almost unheard of in our young kids' generation, to be able to sit there and question and really try and interdig into your own thoughts. And that means it's very hard to translate information into rich, highly connected memories that are ultimately that make us smarter or more intelligent.
It's so scary.
People aren't bored ever anymore.
No, and that's
Like,
another problem.
Oh, you're feeling a little bored? Cool. Here's every piece of information man has ever created.
In the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
Go look at it.
And it's also,
but then you choose to look at fucking cat memes.
And they get bored.
Well, in the study, it's saying that these technologies have warped our perception of history and how we learn, and how the human race is just evolved.
But I also think it's warped, and here's an obvious statement, it's also warped people's sense of reality of other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how often have you heard that, that joke, like, oh, I hope your life is as great it is as you pretend it is on Facebook. Like, yeah, people put, and we've talked about this with social media in some of our previous episodes, but like, people put the facade, they only post the best things. Like, nobody's on Facebook talking about how sad they are. They're only posting the good, positive things about, look at me, look what I'm doing, look how special I am, blah, blah, blah. And it's just not real life. Like, other people have this like same hardships as I, paying bills, just the stress of life. Like, everybody deals with that, but everyone thinks no one's dealing with it.
So another study with phones, 51 kids in two groups. There was a 51 kid group that was sent to a camp where they weren't allowed to have their phones for 5 days, and 51 kids that were put in a control group, and they were tested before they went to the camp and after they came out of the camp on how well they recognized facial expressions and were able to read and identify emotions of different actors that they were shown in a video. And that they had a pretty massive improvement in the ability to understand emotion in the facial reactions.
In 5 days.
Going in 5 days without your phone.
Jesus.
That's crazy.
And so, like, that shows.
Imagine 5 months.
We have that natural ability is there. We're never going to lose it, I think, but we're suppressing it so hard that we don't have the ability to empathize with people anymore. We don't feel with other people as much as we used to, because we feel like we're connected to billions of people every day. You lose the value of the person next to you.
I feel like people are learning to communicate and express emotions through like text, more so than like you're describing.
God, I suck at that.
Than in
You
person.
can't.
Which, as a person that did not entirely grow up with this, like that blows my mind.
I mean,
How can you interpret emotion through text?
You can't, because you're missing a key thing, which is the nonverbal cues.
And tone and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's no emotion behind it. It's also, there's a lot of studies saying that, this, like, especially in teenagers, it's causing severe depression because they don't understand how to interact with people.
Well, in somewhat of a defense of some of this technology, like, one thing that I really like using technology for is I feel like I have learned a shit ton. Like, I don't need to go to a university to learn about Crispr, or I don't need to go learn about gravitational waves from some professor or some class I've got to sign up on. Like, I could just instantly just learn about anything. And so while there's definite negative side effects of it, I think there's some positive too. So
I totally agree.
You can't necessarily discount that.
I'm watching a lecture from Jordan Peterson right now. I'm like 6 videos into his lecture, psychology lecture. Something I would never had 5-10 years ago.
Without paying the $3,000 to take the class in Canada.
Yeah.
Dude, so check this out. A poll says 91% say that their smartphone is very important to them of the population that was polled, and 60% say that it's more important than coffee to them. The 96% of millennials said the smartphone is very important, and that 93% of those 96 said it's definitely more important than deodorant, and another and
Wow.
and 93 said it's more important than a toothbrush.
What?
Oh, no.
93%
No,
of
no.
the
Some
96
basic oral hygiene?
Yes, that they would rather go without brushing their teeth than to go without their smartphone.
That's like literally detrimental to your health.
Yes.
Yes. But that's that depression and anxiety and
but
chemical release
Facebook
that
though.
we get. Well, that's a great point. I think a lot of this technology and the addictive parts of the technology come from that social interaction that we get in technology.
Yeah.
And that's something else that's been evolving in our last decade or so, right?
Yes.
Facebook, MySpace even, which really kind of kicked it off.
Just social media in general.
Just social media really has changed the way we interact with people and the way we get our news, the way we get our
ads.
Yeah, I mean
everything.
There's so much of our lives tied into social media now. And I mean, we've talked about it on prior episodes. And like, what is it like for each social media app that you have like a 15% increase in depression and anxiety,
Possible.
or something like that's insane. I mean, it's not it's a 15% more likely to be, not that you will be, but you know, there is serious mental health concerns with how we interact. And I want to know what is pinning that in. And then, is this a net good or net bad? Like, I mean, I think we it's hard to calculate it in my own mind.
Yeah, it's certainly hard to say because we're in the thick of it. Like, I think, I mean, within the last 15 years, we can definitely see some effects of it now. Some of where we're just kind of like, let's curb that. But then also there's a lot of very good things. Like, it's allowed people to have access to information
Globally.
globally and instantaneously. Like, you literally have every piece of information persons had ever discovered. Like, the world's knowledge is indexed in the internet.
My favorite part about the internet is to fact check. Like, earlier today we were like, can the Bill of Rights be amended, right? And if we didn't know the answer between the four of us, what do we do?
We let someone else tell us.
Go
get an encyclopedia or something.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's actually a good question. Like, I wonder if you could like take a poll of people and say, okay, if I asked you 5 questions and you named the 5 questions and you say, okay, you need to try to get those answers to those 5 questions, but you can't use anything connected to the internet. I wonder how many people could actually like figure out how they would find out this information.
Library.
Yes.
Yeah, but do you think people would like know how to go to a library and try to find a book that has that information in there?
No,
like,
because you don't.
They don't
learn
even
the
know how
index
to
numbers.
go to a library.
No, you don't know the codes and all that.
That
stuff.
information isn't
the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah, Dewey Decimal. Yep.
I don't know. So that was a little interesting.
I bet you.
realization there.
I wonder if kids are still being taught the difference between fiction and nonfiction.
I would think so.
Ask CNN, clearly not.
Right.
Very true.
Well, I guess the one that I'm actually kind of excited to expand upon, and Carl's going to kind of spearhead this one, the discovery of water on Mars and all these exoplanets that we now have.
Well, with Mars, we've known about like ice on Mars, obviously for hundreds of years. Telescopes have shown us this. But what they found in 2002 is like, what was it? Excuse me. Ugh. They found like reservoirs. So they scanned the planet from orbit and detect signs of shallow ground ice at high latitudes. Excuse me. Let me pull this mic
Pull
in.
that right up to your mouth.
Right. But in 2008, they actually dug up ice on the Phoenix mission. They actually dug up from the landing site of one of the rovers there. And now they've detected ice shelves in the Martian landscape. So this brings up the question, if we ever go to Mars, we have readily available ice, a.k.a. water, available.
I don't want you to say if, when.
Oh, yeah, when.
Yes,
when.
Yeah,
it will happen.
Don't piss off Elon.
I won't destroy his dream. But no, it's fascinating because
it's game changing. It's the first time we've ever discovered water anywhere outside of running water.
Yeah, well, yeah,
or liquid
literally
water,
running water at some points because they found the ravines of the fingerprints of water usage. But sometimes you have to dig like 30 feet down. Some of this held water is hard to get to.
So,
but these shelves have proven that it's readily accessible, and there's plenty of it too.
So what does this mean for life?
Yeah, life. The potential of life to find.
It really brings about the real likelihood of possibly finding some sort of life form.
Extraterrestrial.
And then that also gives credence to the theory of life on Earth could have originated from life on Mars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's a theory out there that basically a really large object smashed into Mars and scattered Mars matter everywhere, with some microbial sort of life forms in it. And we already know this as a fact. Some microbes can survive the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
And they
tardigrades.
Yep, they could have traveled from Mars into Earth and sort of I
Found
guess,
a little-
inseminated Earth.
Yeah.
so
I mean,
it's that
like-
primordial ooze that everyone
Exactly.
talks about.
Yeah.
And
I find that a really fascinating theory, and I think it's extremely plausible. And
well, yeah. So on this, like the amount of water they said in one ice shelf, they said they found as much water, or the buried ice sheet they found there holds as much water as Lake Superior.
oh,
Wow.
what?
That's
yeah,
a lot of
that's
water.
a lot of water.
Let's see how much water that is.
How many metric tons?
But I mean, if you think about that's, ice, if they're able to find, liquid water like underneath the surface and it's along that scale, like there definitely could be possibility for life.
Yeah, I mean, this ice sheet thing, it really changes the game. So instead of digging down and mining wasting material and wasting energy, it's only like a few feet down. Like they could just readily, astronauts or any exo explorer can, dig up ice and use it and saturate it into water or whatever.
Now, if we are going to Mars,
If you mean when.
I'm sorry, when we are going to Mars.
I'm just saying, Elon's about to come through this screen and
When-
smack you.
When we go to Mars, we need to get there with some rockets.
Yes.
And it'd be easier if those rockets were reusable.
It'd be cheaper.
Be cheaper.
would
be
much
cheaper.
cheaper.
Well, I think I heard something about some guy.
Yeah.
Something, he has a smell, a scent. It's like a
Was
musk.
it
Yeah,
Bill Gates? Steve Jobs?
Yes, Bill Gates.
Yeah,
I think
I-
that's
I
He has
think
a really
it was,
weird
I think
first
it was
name.
Steve Gates.
Steve Gates.
Yeah.
It's something like a lawn, like a grass lawn.
Ellen
Musk.
DeGeneres?
Musk?
Ellen Musk.
We're, of course, talking about Elon Musk.
Yes.
Yeah,
Elon Musk, SpaceX.
I mean, I feel like SpaceX is fairly common knowledge, like the
Yeah, it should.
existence of it and the fact that, they're making these advancements to try and get to Mars. I feel like most people...
I don't know about that, man.
Really?
I feel like if you polled people, I would say maybe 4 in 10 people would know.
Oh, that would depress me.
Yeah.
That would really depress me.
Most people, I mean, to be honest, like we're unique in that we give a shit
Yeah,
about it. Like
that's-
most people don't care about that.
That's
stuff.
true.
They're
Yeah.
more concerned with the fucking Kardashians and stuff.
That's because it doesn't affect them
and
directly.
Cardi B.
Well,
And Cardi B, yes.
I
I'm
can
sorry,
tell you
Cardi
that
B.
our average listener, or all of our listeners, I would say if they're listening to the show, they're not that person.
Well, no, I'm not. Yeah, well, but
It
he
can
was-
be if
he
you
was-
want to.
But he was making the claim of.
Yeah,
I feel like most people know about. I don't think most people do
Yeah, but
About rockets?
about SpaceX
Oh.
So
and the reusable rockets.
You'd have
their
to
biggest advancement that they've come through in their pursuit of trying to get to Mars is the fact that they've been able to successfully land rockets after launch, which is crazy.
Dude, you have
Fun-
to watch
fun-
the videos.
Fun fact about that, sort of an engineering metaphor of what it takes to get to to be able to do that. That's sort of like the equivalent of taking a pencil, throwing it over the Empire State Building, and having it land on the point on the other side.
Ugh.
and stand up.
And yep,
Oh
Yeah.
my
it's insane.
God.
It's utterly insane.
insane.
That's
When
incredible.
you watch it, and I've seen it probably
Oh, yeah.
40, 50
I
times.
can't stop watching those.
It
Yes.
doesn't look real.
No.
It doesn't look
It
real.
doesn't.
It's
because the Earth.
insane.
It's because the Earth is flat. They're not real.
Ah, that's
Ah,
right.
Yeah.
True.
It's all CGI. No, it is mind blowing, and to think about how fast these objects are coming back down to Earth. It's impressively fast in how they're able to stop just on the dime, like on a barge in the ocean.
Yes, that's crazy, and it's all done by itself. There's no
Yeah,
human
all
controlling
automated.
it. So I think I sent this to you guys. It was a 3D audio launch of Falcon
some-
Heavy.
Oh yeah.
And one thing I had never realized or thought of, and speaking of how fast they're coming back, so the rockets when they come back, so kind of visualize with me here. So you have the top of the rocket, and there's fins that sort of rotate and kind of steer on the top side. And then on the bottom side, just above the exhaust, there's another set of fins that just rotate side to side that steer. And then, of course, you have the rockets at the bottom. So when that thing comes back, it's going so fast that it has 3 sonic booms coming from it.
Jeez.
Yeah.
One from the top fin, one from the lower fin, and one from the exhaust. And it's crazy to watch. It's just like when it comes to, it's just like, ba 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 ba. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean that shows you how fast they're coming in. Is that there's a sonic boom as it comes back.
That's funny because I actually watched it. Like someone posted a video of the launch or the
landing?
the landing from a hotel, and you could see it like it was crazy. Like you saw it land, and then you heard boom, 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 all in succession, concussive blast. It was beautiful.
It's crazy.
It was so cool. It was blowing my mind.
I would love to see a rocket launch in person.
Oh, that's
God, that would be amazing.
hashtag bucket list.
Yeah, right.
For real.
Yes.
No, but this is exciting in that advance. I feel like in our generational life, there's not been a lot of change in the space programs.
This is
right?
our modern day Apollo.
This
Pretty
is
much.
Real.
This is huge, and I get so passionate about the fact that, I mean, I have some issues with how private SpaceX is. I don't know if it's fully private because the government helps them with some things and they have deals and other things. But I love the idea that it is a private company that is leading the way in pushing innovation to another level. And I think that's just a great example of how these really important issues should be run, and they should be a private thing. And we need people like Elon Musk, and we need people who really care about issues of the world working their ass off to just do something about it.
Well, specifically in space technology, and I don't want to get too far into this, but why SpaceX has been able to do things, incredible things, much, much quicker than, let's say, NASA. So NASA is inherently, I mean, it's just difficult to get things done. And you can see this exactly paint out. If you compare side by side the two missions to get to Mars from SpaceX and NASA, there's like a 20-year difference.
Yeah.
Like SpaceX is going to be there 20 years before NASA is going to try to get there. Reason being is we just have to consider how NASA works. So NASA is obviously funded by the government, and if they are wanting to get their budgets approved, who do they have to go to get that approved? Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Mr. Congressman, will you please approve my budget? Congressman says, cool, what are you going to do for me and my state or
What's
my
my
constituent?
kickback? Yeah.
Like, what am I going to get from this?
Mm-hmm.
And so what NASA does is says, okay, cool, well, this part of the ship
Can be
or
built there.
this mechanism or whatever it is, this thing, we will have it built in your state. So you can produce jobs and, whatever. So then you have to have basically a spaceship built in 20, 30 plus states that has to then come together and then be assembled. Versus SpaceX has the advantage of just designing, building, and doing everything in one single location. And that's just, I mean, logistically, that's infinitely simpler.
I think we have one more thing.
We got
here
two
on the-
more.
Oh, two more. What do we got?
And they're both involved in space, actually.
Yes.
I will go ahead and talk about gravitational waves. So you might ask yourself, Adam, what is a gravitational wave?
What is a gravitational wave, Adam?
So here's what a gravitational wave is. So essentially, it's a disturbance in the fabric of space-time.
In the Force?
Yes.
Sure.
That is exactly what it is.
Oh my God.
So we know, if you're not familiar with space-time, I'm not going to go into it, but just look up what space-time is. It's basically it's the fabric of space-time. So just imagine everything sitting on a piece of fabric.
Mhm.
And what happens is when you have two very extremely huge things, mostly that we know of right now, black holes, when they collide, there are gravitational waves within the fabric of space-time that ripple outward from the collision or from the event, if you will. And they travel at the speed of light. They've been theorized by
Albert Einstein.
And I think that was in the 1950s.
No, it was in 1916 on the basis of his theory of general relativity.
I don't know why I said 50s, 1960.
Yeah, 1916.
And on February 11th of 2016, LIGO and Virgo, which are sort of they're detectors, they made the announcement that they have they have the first observation of gravitational waves, like legit, like they discovered it, they detected it, it's real. Einstein was right. So you might also be asking yourself, okay, what's the big deal about gravitational waves?
I hate when I ask you self.
Yourself? Okay, let me go pull this in the...
Yeah, what does this gravitational wave do for me?
Yeah, what's it do for your pocketbook?
Is it going to build a rocket in my state?
I think when it comes to like basic understandings of like fundamental physics, they lead to huge advancements in technology. Just from this little tiny understanding, you're able to just flip your view of a science,
It's you experience the world in a different way.
Exactly.
in a sense. So it just, as Albert Einstein had theorized, it's coming to life. What was possible or what was probable is real. And I mean, if you wanted to expound more on that, it's up to you, or we can.
Oh, sorry, I got lost in the article.
Oh no, yeah.
Well, one thing that I know that the gravitational waves will do is it will allow us to also literally see black holes.
That'd be
Which
dope.
that's never been done before. Like
Right.
we know that black holes exist. We've just never seen one. Why? Because, well, they're black. No light can get out of them.
Yes.
So when you're looking at space, which is black, and you're looking for a big hole that's black, you can't see anything. So that would be huge, because then we can actually study and better understand black holes, and who knows what potential discoveries could come from that.
Absolutely.
Oh man, there was a part of the article and I just can't find it. Yeah. Anyway, we'll just leave gravitational waves at that, unless I find something in the next 6 seconds.
But yeah.
I think we had two other things now to talk about. One thing I wanted to talk about real quickly, it's just like a quick thing. I don't think it's very terribly interesting, but in the past few years, we've created...
Our show's only about interesting topics, Travis.
I'm sorry.
And they get lost in good conversation.
I'm sorry. But I think it's something that, of these things on this list, this is probably one of the things that could have one of the greater impacts on your life. And that's the creation of a new antibiotic called Teixobactin.
Say that 3 times real fast.
Teixobactin.
Okay,
Teixobactin.
5 times.
Basically, though, it's a new form of, antibiotic that they created with a different way of making the cultures for the antibiotic, something with, growing them in the ground. But basically, it allows them to tackle more super bugs, more, diseases that are resistant to current antibiotics. And they're able to use this to create an entire new line or, wave of antibiotics, because there was a very growing concern, and it's still a growing concern, that you could one day wind up in a world where all antibiotics are useless, because the diseases have become so resistant to them because of our overuse of them. But with this, advance in the way we create antibiotics, it opens up the realm for that to not happen, which is awesome.
So basically, these would be like perfect medicines. They would always work.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like this...
It's just an alternative approach to how it attacks the virus.
No, I mean, it's just a different antibiotic. So it's just the way they created the culture to form the antibiotics completely different than what they've used before. So it's a whole new way of creating antibiotics.
So I'm reading...
Granted, those antibiotics could then become resistant
to that.
But yeah.
I'm reading something about this thing called iChip. So it's like iChip was the tool that was used to discover the compound Teixobactin. And they're saying that Teixobactin is a fish, the iChip is the rod. Having the rod guarantees that we'll get more fish. So I'm assuming this tool was used in this creation of this, this anti-resistant bacteria or whatever you want to call it, whatever it was. So that, I guess that could be even more awesome, more exciting, I guess, is the tool that was used. Whereas, yes, this is great. This is a great discovery, but since we have that tool, we can now go to different cultures or different bacterial cultures that are resistant.
Exactly.
And try to dig up new or uncover new, deconstruct new old viruses that have been, plaguing us.
The bacteria. They were trying to create a bacteria called Eleutheria terrae.
Yeah.
Which was previously unculturable.
Say that 10 times fast.
Which was previously unculturable. And so they then, used this method of trying to culture it in the soil, which is what you were talking about.
iChip.
With the iChip. And it's shown to kill a new form of tuberculosis, a new form of staph. And so it's just able to take out these diseases that were once resistant to antibiotics.
It's fascinating. That's good, because I've thought about that. I've read a lot about this, antibacterial or antibiotic resistance, and it growing. It's a real threat. A lot of people are really worried about that. A lot of doctors are
incredibly worried.
So correct me if I'm wrong. This would be different from because we were talking about like CRISPR and like we could edit genes, diseases, mutations, stuff like that. But that wouldn't really work for. Would it work for bacteria?
I think it would.
You have
I think it would.
viral things, which viral things sort of inject their stuff into the DNA.
I think it would. I think you could somehow use CRISPR because it's DNA. Like bacteria is made up of DNA. I think you could somehow create a bacteria that then is able to form the perfect antibiotic. You know, so I definitely think they could all come together one day. You know, stem cell research, CRISPR. You know, all these advancements in medical technology.
Yeah, so it's crazy like that. So just to really delve deep into that iChip one more time. So it's what it does is it creates new microbes, like new forms of bacteria that I guess every time in the new soil and the new permeable layer that they use, it's separating these new cultures that, you know, like the Teixobactin or whatever.
Teixobactin, yeah.
Yeah. So real interesting stuff.
No, I mean this is a drug you could find yourself taking in the next like 10 years.
Wow.
What did I'm sorry, this is a really random thought. I remember watching this the other day and I forgot. Part of me, this is not going to be a very good story, but there was a guy who did like a presentation of some new experimental drug, and like he was so confident in the experimental drug that during the presentation, as they were just like talking about it, he just injected himself with it. Yeah.
Oh my
god! And then later afterwards, he's like, "Yeah, I really regret that."
Wow.
Wow.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What's last on the list? I think there's one more thing we didn't hit.
Something
Higgs.
about shoving shit together at really high velocities.
Collidey things.
The Higgs Boson, the God particle, the so-called God particle.
Yes.
So yeah, Peter Higgs, what it's rightly named after, was the first one to suggest that this particle exists. And CERN decided, hey, we're going to try and figure this out. So with the LHC, which is the Large Hadron Collider, they started throwing particles at each other.
Isn't this the same collider that people were protesting, thinking they were trying to rip a hole in the fabric of our universe?
Correct.
Yes, black hole or
Yeah.
portal dimension.
Yeah,
dimensional portal.
Honestly, when they started this thing up, they didn't know what was going to
Exactly.
happen. So like, they could have ripped a
I mean,
hole, and
made
maybe not, but I mean, they honestly didn't know. They really did not know.
They've
I feel
made
they
like
have to have some kind of theory before they're gonna.
oh, absolutely. Well, of
do
course, these
something
guys
like
are
that.
like levels above most people on this planet. But what I was saying,
Most, I'd say like 99%.
no, seriously, these guys are just cognitively advanced to the highest degree. But what I was saying is that they have created like microscopic black holes for like, you know, a blink of a microcosm of a second, and that disappear, they evaporate or go back into reality. But with the Higgs boson, they collided. Which particles did they collide together at? Let me read this real quick. So they collide two particles together, and it creates a spray, like a paint spray and they register it on their sensors. And they're talking about like tens of billions of different particles, and apparently they found the one that fit the parameters of the Higgs boson.
Didn't it take like years to be able to analyze just the particles that after the first explosion?
Well, it's because it's very difficult because the Higgs boson particle is larger than the other particles, so it doesn't last very long. So it's like blink of it's like, say the other particles were a blink of an eye, it's like a split second of that. So I guess reality is short term, very, very short term. And every time they tried multiple times. And I guess they created a sensor or have a sensor that was just sensitive enough to pick it up. And I mean, I'm sorry, it wasn't billions of particles, it's trillions of particles.
Oh.
Trillions.
How dare you short it?
Well, that's a big leap. That's a big difference
leap.
between
for
billions.
Sure, for sure.
But so pretty much what it does is what the Higgs boson is it's number one, it shows that it obeys the conservation of energy law, which states that no energy is created or destroyed, but instead it can be transferred or changed in form. And then after that, they found it's a fundamental particle. So there's like 17 particles that are fundamental to physical reality, and this is one of them.
That's actually where the term boson comes from.
Yes.
A boson is one of these particles that make up the fundamental forces of
Photons are another one.
Exactly. Photons,
Gluons as well.
the gluon and stuff like that. And they believe that this particular particle is what gives matter the intrinsic property of mass.
Wow.
Yeah.
How that happens, do not ask me.
Why don't you know this?
Come on, Travis.
Yeah.
That's huge, though.
Yeah.
You see what
But they believe, there's different
Yeah.
particles for all the like fundamental forces of nature. The only one of which being gravity that they haven't really been able to factor into what's causing gravity. But that was, back to what Adam brought up with, gravitational waves.
Mm.
Oh, can I go back and tell you some cool things about those?
Yeah, sure.
Two little things on the
Yeah, sure.
gravitational waves. So one, gravitational waves could also help physicists understand the fundamental laws of the universe. Obviously, that's pretty important, I think. They are crucial to part of Einstein's general theory of relativity. So very crucial aspect of that. They can also... So gravitational waves, I mean, we talked about big things colliding. So like big bangs happening, right? So the Big Bang Theory, right? So this, so waves from the Big Bang would tell us a little bit more of how the universe was formed, and really just give us a lot of insight to the very, very beginnings of the universe, ultimately helping us understand the fundamental principles of it. So yes, that is why gravitational waves are so big.
Dang.
Damn.
Damn.
I just always wonder if a human brain or thousands of human brains working together will ever be enough to truly get stuff about how we are.
And we'll
AI,
never
yeah.
answer.
AI, bro.
We'll never answer that question.
Even with that, it's human created, and I don't know, like, it just seems like there's so much depth, and I love that we have figured out so much of it already, but I feel like it's just a drop of, a grain of sand in the infinite amount of knowledge of how the world is.
Well, think about it this way. When you look at the world, everything is infinitesimally small and infinitesimally large, and we're stuck in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so much, it's an infinite expanse on either way you look at it, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, and we're talking about, we've categorized this as far as the greatest discoveries and technologies of the 21st century. We're only 18 years into it. Like,
imagine
there's
50
a
years
lot
from
to
now.
go from the 21st century, and look how much progress we've made just in the 18 years. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Yes.
There's another little cool one that we haven't actually hit on. Although this project was started before the 21st century, it was finished and finalized, and the report, sort of the analysis, came out in this century. But the Human Genome Project, like, it was finished and it came out in 2001. Like, that we didn't get to catch on that one, but that one's also another huge one. But yeah, we've made some significant progress in 18 years.
Huge process. Huge.
Well, guys, speaking of progress, I think that's a great place to bring us to our quote of the week.
For the quote of the week this week, I thought it was particularly interesting because it comes from a guy that is an Episcopalian priest and a physicist at the same time. His name is William Pollard, and William Pollard says, "Learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow."
Boom.
Well, shit.
Well, that just kind of messes my mind a little bit. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow.
Growth. It's about growth and progress.
Moving
So-
forward.
That's a
Never stop stopping.
yeah.
Yes. Never stop stopping. I like that.
No, I got that from a movie, but
It's good.
It's from an Andy Samberg movie. It's really stupid, but yeah, never stop stopping.
Yes. And we are in the age of learning and innovation. That is for damn sure. And information.
Well, speaking of never stop stopping, when you want to have a good time, never stop stopping going to bluefrogpartyclub.com. okay, look, this company's just really, really cool. If you've ever been thrown to a party and you have no idea where to start, like, what do I get? What's the cool stuff? Like, you don't want to go to like Party City and get stupid stuff for like a kid's birthday. So go over to bluefrogpartyclub.com and they have all like really cool packages where you can like mix and match and select little things that you want for your party. They have a great St. Patrick's Day little kit or themed stuff that you can purchase since St. Patty's Day is coming up. So if you head over there to bluefrogpartyclub.com, you can use code Bermuda at checkout and receive 15% off your first order. So get some discounts on some really cool stuff to throw a really dope party for St. Patty's Day. bluefrogpartyclub.com.
Woo.
Woo.
Yeah. I'm ready to party. I just got excited to party. Like,
We had to soak it in.
That was
soak
the
it in.
weakest woo I've ever heard. You were just
Woo! He was so blinded by the light.
You were blinded by your own excitement.
I'm ready to go drink.
Well, that brings us to the greatest section of the show. Let's be honest.
Yeah, sure.
The triangle of cards.
That's subjective.
Well,
you guys are more than familiar with this card game. I'm not
Beautiful.
going to describe it again.
Yeah.
Great job on the music there. But so we modeled this card game after a very popular card game against humanity. We each have a subject statement. Choose the funniest one. You know how this is played. I'm currently in first place. That's all that matters. Who wants to start us off this week?
I'll start.
Go for it.
After colliding blank in the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, a new particle was discovered that will shake the foundations of physics.
a new particle.
That one's perfect. Perfect.
Look at Travis already going to the switcheroo on the cards. This better be good, guys.
Meh.
All right, is that everybody?
You.
All right. After colliding the force in the Large Hadron Collider, a new particle was discovered that will shake. Okay, the force.
The midichlorians.
The medical. What would that look like?
Who knows?
Okay.
Woo.
Woo. That's what I'm
Woo.
saying. That was one of those moments. After colliding powerful thighs in the large LHC.
Some thunder thighs.
That's pretty good. After colliding men in the Large Hadron Collider, a new particle that was defying feminism was discovered that will shake the foundations of
people
feminism.
Yeah.
People kind.
People kind, excuse
Can't
me.
say men.
Mankind is against the law.
Too offensive.
Oh my God, these are bad. I don't even know what to
No,
go.
there was a great one in there. I know
Yeah, I
it.
know yours is the force, but
What?
let's just go with powerful thighs.
How dare you think his was the force? That's too good of a card for him.
There we go.
Blah.
I will go next.
All right.
After reusable rockets, Elon Musk announced reusable blank as his next big project.
Reusable blank.
God, these are bad. Let's go.
After reusable rockets, Elon Musk announced reusable blank as his next big project.
I guess.
God damn.
All right. After reusable rockets, Elon Musk announced reusable African children as his next big project.
Reusable.
What's he?
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Careful.
How are you using them in the first place?
Exactly.
Yeah, careful.
After reusable rockets, Elon Musk announced pictures of boobs as his next reusable pictures of boobs as his next big project.
That's good. You got to recycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, internet.
Yeah.
Internet.
After reusable rockets, Elon Musk announced reusable consensual sex as his next big project. What? It just sounds dirty.
Yeah.
like reusable consensual sex.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
it's what?
It's only should be. Never mind.
Nah.
That was gonna get really inappropriate.
Yeah.
It's a rare moment, guys. Alex censored himself.
I'm gonna go with African children.
Damn.
Cha-ching. Thank you, sir.
All right, I'll hit this one. Scientists have recently discovered mixing blank with urine and drinking it can add 45 years to the average life expectancy. So scientists have recently discovered mixing blank with urine and drinking it can add 45 years to the average life expectancy.
I have like one card that's bad.
I'd like to rescind.
One card that is not that good, but it could work. And so now I've got to decide whether I take my 2 and draw
God,
1 and
sucks.
just see what I get. Screw it.
Nah, just go with it.
I mean, I got no choice.
Alrighty, so scientists have recently discovered mixing natural male enhancement with urine will add 45 years to your life. It could.
That kind of
Hey,
kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like some shaman shit, but
yeah.
Shaman shit. It's like ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Yes.
Scientists have recently discovered mixing a tiny horse with urine and drinking it can add.
Hey,
what do you do? Blend
That's
it?
a lot of protein.
Yeah.
Well, y'all heard about like the pet food with the euthanized horses in it, right?
What?
Yeah, like dog food, like the cheap shop.
Oh God, let's not go. Let's not
Yeah.
go down that. Scientists have recently discovered mixing assless chaps with urine
How?
and drinking it can add 45 years to your
How?
life expectancy.
If you're into that kind of thing.
I'm gonna go with natural male enhancement.
Cha-ching!
Dang, Carl.
I'm on
Fun
a
fact, there's
roll.
no such thing as, I mean, there's no real reason to call them assless chaps because all chaps are assless.
True.
This is true.
That's very true.
This
They're
is
just
true.
You
called
bring that-
chaps.
Yeah.
You just don't wear underwear.
You just don't
Or
wear
pants.
Yeah.
Commando. Yeah.
But that's not
I don't
that's
wear
not the
pants most of
but
my
that's not
life
the
anyway.
chaps that are
Anyway.
All right, who's next? Who's last? Adam.
I am. So CNN has declared the invention of blank as the defining invention of the 21st century.
This one's really dark, so just forewarning.
I can't-
You
Really
guys
dark.
like
I
responded quickly with those. Like you
Yeah.
guys almost planned that one out.
I don't know if it would be considered the 21st century for some of these cards,
Yeah.
but
It's
We'll
dark.
use our
Yeah.
imagination. A 21st century version of this.
yeah,
All right, so CNN has declared the invention of
just add super in front of everything. It's the new.
the invention of AIDS as the defining invention of the 21st century. Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Woo.
Yeah.
So CNN has declared the invention of crystal meth as
Oh
the
my
defining
God.
invention of the 21st
Double
century.
wow.
Super crystal meth.
Oh my
super
super-
AIDS.
The crystal blue
CNN has
persuasion.
declared the invention of Mr. Clean right behind you as the
Ooh,
defining
super
that's
Mr.
not
Meh.
happening.
Yeah.
Ooh, dark.
I'm gonna go with AIDS just because
Cha-ching!
It's
Freer.
It is
Carl
very
with a sweep.
very
The
cringeworthy.
Sweep. Woo.
It's extremely cringeworthy, and
Damn.
it takes the toll.
I'll take 288. Thank you.
Well, the scores after that fun round. Myself in first
Catching
place,
up.
still with 36 points. Alex has finally broken 30 points. And Carl, you're actually not too far behind. Good job. Good job this week.
Yes.
You're with 28 points.
Mm-hmm.
And Travis firmly in dead last. At
I wouldn't
20
say firmly.
pretty firmly. Now that you've like you and Carl have like sort of leapfrogged each other for the past 4 or 5 weeks. Now he's got a pretty good lead on you.
We're just gonna have to talk
we
about
were
that.
tied going into today's episode.
And
is
he had
true.
a dominating performance.
Yeah, he
Yes.
did.
Yes, he
Where's
did.
your Olympic caliber performance?
I need to pull it out my butt.
Apparently.
There could be
You
other
might
things
have
coming
to.
out of your butt if you lose this conversation.
quite literally.
We'll tell everybody about that sometime.
Oh God.
Oh man.
I'm concerned
I
for
wanted
you.
to-
No clues.
I was. I almost wanted to use that as a transition. Speaking of things pulling out your butt, but not as smooth as I thought it would be. Yeah.
Blue Apron.
Yeah, Blue Apron. No, but really, we do have a Blue Apron link on the website. I think being interested in science and technology, because I feel like a lot of what we talked about is science and technology based, is huge. You know, being up to date on like the latest discoveries and being aware of what's going on in science, I think is huge. You know, I think that's one of the big things we wanted to bring to this episode is not just these individual discoveries, but the awareness of them.
But the excitement and the conversation that you can spark around them is
Yes.
something interesting to me, right? Like
Yeah.
the
don't
imagination of what we've developed and what is possible with what we've been able to develop and what's next.
Well, one thing that I often tell people, like, why you should care about these things. So let's take for example, quantum mechanics. Like quantum mechanics back in the 19th century, or maybe 20th. No, like, okay, why should I be interested in quantum mechanics, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, you don't realize, like, when you discover something, and I know we've said this before on the show, like, it takes some time to figure out, like, how that can be applied.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, quantum mechanics came around, and quantum mechanics directly led to
Computing.
computers and the
Yes.
internet. Like, we wouldn't have any of that without quantum mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, yes, you might not be able to see the direct implementation, and we've tried to hopefully give some examples of why it's important. But it's going to take some time to really understand the full scope and value of some of these sort of discoveries and technologies and stuff like that. And I think that's why you should care.
Well, some people are just
Yeah.
interested in the final product and not interested in the
Yeah,
foundation.
they're interested in just, can I
Yeah.
get on Facebook?
And I
not
don't
how
fault
this
them. I
works.
don't fault
Yeah.
them for that, but I find it fascinating, the foundations of all this stuff.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know?
Speaking of, I don't know what, but I was going to try to find something for a transition, but that didn't really work out.
Oh man, this has been an awkward show.
It's all right.
Welcome
It's
to
all
the
right.
first live episode. Hopefully it goes up from here.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys liked all this content and you would like some more of it, you can head over to bermudat.com. You can check out all of our extended content. We have articles written not only by us, but by viewers just like you guys and listeners just like you guys. Our goal with the website is really just to, we get an opportunity to mention and talk about our opinions and thoughts. So that avenue is for you to do the same there, sort of in a more long formatted sort of platform to where you can sort of, get your ideas out in a very, I guess, thought out way. I don't know. But yes, if you're interested in writing or you want to just get your thought out, you can email us at podcast@bermudat.com, or you can go to bermudat.com/contact us. Of course, we are all on social media platforms such as Instagram at Bermuda Triangle Podcast, Twitter at Bermuda T Podcast, Facebook.com/Bermuda Triangle Podcast. Also, if you're watching this or you're not watching this, head over to our YouTube channel and catch our next episode next week, because we will be live streaming these pretty much on a permanent basis, I think.
Yeah.
And like I said, they will get better, so bear with us. But yeah.
Yeah, guys, it's been a special episode.
It's been a long day for us.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
it
has
has.
been.
Oh,
We
God,
have been
yes.
working since 11 a.m.
And it is
Shit.
10:20.
And it's, damn,
Yeah,
have
we've had a
little 12-hour day there.
kick-ass
Mhm.
day. But guys, it has been a fantastic, phenomenal episode of the Bermuda Triangle Podcast, where interesting topics get lost in good conversation. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
Bye.